It's according to the clock up there, it's 5:35, and we are calling the meeting of the CPC to order. I'll do a roll call of the members. Donna is not here. Travis?
Present.
Wisty? Here. Jack?
Here.
Garth is not here. Peter?
I am present.
Excellent. Becky is not here, at least not now. And Sarah?
Here.
Okay, and I'm here. So, and with that, let's talk about the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from May 22nd?
Yes, I moved it with minutes from May 22nd.
I'll second.
Okay, second, discussion. Hearing none, I will ask that we move to a vote. And since we are not all in the room, I will go through the roll. All those in favor, Travis.
Yes.
Wisty.
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Did I miss anybody? Sarah. Oh, Sarah, I missed you. I'm sorry.
I wrote them, so I don't know if it's weird that I voted away, but yes.
Thanks, and thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for putting all those.
Oh, no, next time it won't take as long. I finally got certified, so I don't need to collect signatures anymore, so my weekend.
Yes, definitely. Congratulations. Okay, on public comment. There will be no discussion or comments will be entertained unless requested by a chairperson of the committee. As we have a major discussion of our plan going forward, unless there is something other than the plan, I will open up public comment just for that purpose. But if it's about the plan, we will be moving on to that in a minute or two.
Yeah, there's the public hearing to talk about.
Yes. So, is there any interest in public comments about anything other than the plan, which we will be having our public hearing about in a few minutes? Seeing none, let us move on to our presentation, which is for the folks who are here for the public hearing, to do a little bit of a quick run through of the Community Preservation Act here and what we've been doing over the last few years. Okay, so this is for our public hearing. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay, folks online can see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, what we're going to be doing is for today, we've already had a welcome and introductions. We're going to do an overview of the act and how it, in terms of Greenfield, what projects we have funded, what is in our plan. We'll open that up to questions and answers, and then we'll do a public comment period. Okay, so these are the members of the Community Preservation Committee at present. Sarah Bolduc represents the Historic Commission, Travis Drury, the Conservation Commission, Donna Roussel, the Recreation Commission, Becky George is mayoral appointment, Peter McIver represents the Planning Board, Wisty Rohrabacher is a City Council appointee, Garth Schoenfeld is a mayoral appointee, I am a City Council appointee, and Jack represents the Housing Authority. And those are all positions that are required by the law. State law was passed in 2000. We did not come until 2020, but what it does is it enables Massachusetts communities to raise funds and create a local dedicated fund to the following: building and rehabilitating parks, playgrounds, and recreational fields, protection of open spaces, supporting local affordable housing development, and preserving historic buildings and resources. There are two sources of CPA funding. Greenfield adopted a 1% property surcharge on residential and commercial property with two exceptions. The first is the first $100,000 of residential and commercial property value is exempt. And the low-income housing, low-income households or low or moderate income senior households are also exempt. To have those exemptions, the second exemption, a contact to the assessor's office for more information is required. In fiscal year 25, which ends next week, the Greenfields raised approximately $300,000 in CPA revenue. And that local revenue is partially matched by a variable statewide community preservation trust fund for distribution to us and to every town who is a member of the CPA. So we get a percentage of that based on the fact that we are a 1% community. We do 1% of our property taxes. There are other towns that go up to 3%. And that changes the amount of state revenue that we receive.
For clarity's sake, the 300K is including the trust fund match. So every dollar that came in CPA wise last year is $300,000.
The Greenfield CPC has three primary responsibilities: to study community preservation needs, possibilities, and resources, and develop a community preservation plan, to review and recommend CPA projects to the City Council, and to keep records and report on the CPA budget. We just recently went through the City Council to get approval on all of the projects that we did for this present fiscal year. So what our budget looks like, and we are required by the CPA to reserve 10% of our funds at minimum for each of our categories, including housing, open space and recreation, historic preservation, and we do that by, as you can see, our present distribution is that we determined as a committee that we would put 30% aside for housing. We still have our 10% for open space and recreation and 10% for historic preservation. The other, we have 5% that we keep for administrative costs, which include things like signs that say this project has been supported by the CPA and that kind of thing. And then 45% is available for any of these categories, for any of the three categories, and we determine each year how that money is spent. In fiscal 25, which ends next Monday, this was the third year of our CPA projects, and we had $213,000 for that year available for funds to spend. We had $248,523 in requested funds. There were 3 proposals for recreation, 3 for historic preservation, and 5 for housing. And we fully funded 8 projects. If folks want me to go through all of the projects, let me just say that there were several projects which for various reasons were not funded. A couple we have asked to come back when they are ready, and one withdrew because it was not yet prepared to provide to do the services. So the percentages for our recreation, historic, and housing this year look like this in relation to the total budget that we funded. And in the first 3 years, this has been the way that we have allocated our money. If you notice that there's a large amount of money that went to recreation. In our first couple of years, we had a huge amount of requests for recreation funds, and most of the projects were very good, and we funded them. Okay, so today we have 6 projects from this is our 3rd year. We have 6 projects that are totally completed. We have 11 projects in process. We have 1 project that was canceled, that was last year. And we have 8 projects that will be receiving money starting with this next fiscal year. So as soon as as we're done here, we'll, projects will be being put together for that.
Susan, can I
Yes.
just add that if a project receives funding and then doesn't do the project, the money comes back to
Correct.
us?
Correct.
Just to clarify.
It's actually already been reallocated. It was
Yes.
part of that 213,000.
Yeah, and that project also, if it is allocated to a specific area and that specific area, it's needed for that 10%, it goes into that particular category. Okay, one of our completed projects is the historic shop equipment that was restored and is at the Museum of our Industrial Heritage. And I had not seen this until Christian showed me the slides,
That's what
but
I
it
did
looks
the other
very
day.
cool. Looks very cool, and we should all go and visit it at the museum.
During the update section, I'll have a video I can show you of it working. It's pretty neat.
Wow.
And another one was that we wanted to provide accessibility improvements at the track so that people who were in wheelchairs or had otherwise difficulty going through onto the grass would have pavement to be able to make sure that they could actually be there at the track and really see what was going on. Okay. CPA mandates that we have a community preservation plan. And the purpose of that plan is to establish clear criteria to form the basis of our evaluation of applications, to establish processes and timelines that the committee will use to review applications, to inform both the applicants and the public of the CPC's goals and of its commitment to open and transparency in terms of reaching those recommendations, and to provide the city council with background information that might be needed to review the recommendations before they take a vote, and also to articulate a common understanding of the community's needs and priorities. And this is a complicated law. And so sometimes there are wonderful things that we would like to support that we can't because of the requirements of the law. In open space, we are allowed to acquire open space, to create open space efforts, and to preserve open space. We cannot support open space, which means that if there is a need to provide some amenities to an open space area that it has already been established, we can't do that with these funds, nor can we rehabilitate or restore any open space land unless it has been acquired with CPA money. In terms of historic preservation, we can acquire historic preservation objects or buildings. We cannot create them. It's actually kind of an oxymoron in itself. And we can preserve them, but again, we can't support them just to be able to make them a little bit better than they were. But we can rehabilitate or restore. So one of the things that we did this year was help rehabilitate the first courthouse that is on Bank Row. So that was one of the things we were able to do. In recreation, we can acquire recreation facilities, we can create recreation facilities, and we can preserve them. We cannot, again, support them. If your basketball court needs a new hoop, we can't provide that. That's considered maintenance and therefore in the support category. However, if your basketball court has totally been, everything's wrong with it, it no longer really exists as a functioning, we can rehabilitate or restore it. And with housing, we can acquire housing, we can create housing, we can preserve it, and we can also support it. So we can support various aspects of housing. And we are not allowed to rehabilitate or restore, again, unless it has been created with CPCA money. My tongue is going. Okay. Community Preservation Committee identified these guiding principles. Advance project with high or multiple community benefits. Select projects that have importance to the city and demonstrate multiple and substantial community benefits. To prioritize urgent projects So analyze projects to determine the relative level of urgency or possible need. Maximize funding leveraging. So if there is a project that has other funding and we can assist in that process, we try to do that. And ensure maintenance of CPA funded investments. Again, this would be buildings that we helped buy or build, or things that we had already started supporting and we wanted to continue to support, as long as they are within the matrix that you just saw. Priorities. Our priorities are the creation of further housing opportunities in Greenfield, climate resilience and improving physical access to or quality of the current open space, to actively preserve and enhance cultural, architectural, and environmental heritage of our community, and increase access to outdoor public recreation opportunities. Eligible projects that address these issues will be given full consideration. And here is the approval process that we have for this coming year. In August, we will announce that our funds are available. Pre-applications will be due September 17th. This is required for us to review for eligibility. From September to October, we meet with applicants and discuss status of their pre-applications. If they have been approved beyond the first stage, so that and then in November, the full application is approved, is due rather. November to February, we work on reviewing those applications, meeting with applicants, and making decisions. And we make those decisions generally in March rather. And in April to June, the council reviews our recommendations, and June or July, we have notification of awards. And that's what we were doing. We actually went through this process. Last week was when the council approved all of the applications that we have for this year. Okay, so do we have from the public any questions about, before we do the public comment on the plan itself, do you have any questions about any of the information we put forward? I know we did it fairly quickly, but we want to do that. So no questions from the audience here. Francoise, since you're the public that we have,
There's iPhone 56.
and there's iPhone 56. Francoise and iPhone 56. Either of you want to speak?
No, no, thank you.
Okay, iPhone 56? Oh, that's Peter. No, that's Pete's iPhone. Okay, I guess not. That being said, we can move on to the public hearing then. Okay. So the reason we have this public hearing, in part, is because we're required to. And the second thing is that we really want to hear from the community. We want to hear about ideas that the community puts forward on the plan as it presently stands. If there are projects recognizing what we can fund and what we can't fund. If there are projects that are important to people in Greenfield, we'd like to know what they are. Not specifically, but what types of projects. So, you can kind of give us an idea, but we don't want to go into detail tonight about any specific project. And also how you would rank the 4 categories. So we have been, up until this point, talking about housing as being our absolutely most important category. But if people want to change that, then we need to know that as well. Would you like to see this funding distributed in a similar way as it was during this fiscal year? Or do you have a different distribution in mind? So with that, we will open up the public hearing.
Did everybody read the letter from the Historical Commission? Because I can read that, nobody did.
Okay, let's check with the people who are presently here, and then see if we can move on to that letter. Nancy, do you want to speak? Sure. Please identify yourself. And people, please.
Nancy Hazard, 30 Spring Terrace.
And I'm thrilled with what the CPC does and what you have been doing in the past. Thank you so much. Fabulous projects. So I wanted to comment on sort of my priorities and things that I care deeply about. Housing. I'll agree with you guys. That's the number one priority. As far as historic preservation goes, and I was trying to rack my brain a little bit about this, but the Greenfields Market project, was that under historic preservation? I believe it was.
When they applied, yeah. And then
Yes.
they withdrew.
They withdrew. They
Building,
withdrew.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess I would say about historic preservation is that projects like that have downtown enhancement and enhanced quality of life in some way in the community would be my high priority. So like the Greenfields Market that I just mentioned, or I don't know if it's completed yet, but there was the Garden Theater got some money
Mhm.
last year.
Yeah.
And that's a really valuable resource that we have downtown and improves our quality of life. So those are, and I don't know what the other ones were, but thinking about thinking about the quality of life and downtown in particular are my high priorities for the historic preservation. As far as open space and recreation, for a number of years, and I know there was a proposal in the past, but it was never sort of completed, but is marking trails, wayfinding and that sort of thing. So something that's really simple, like nothing we don't need anything that's fancy, but I'm thinking about, for example, I go to Maine a lot and their trail signs are wooden signs that have a little routing in them and it says where it's going and how far away it is. And that's what it says. So it's just wooden, it's nothing really special. I do also have an interest I've seen a lot of trail markings in other places that have a little more information about what the trail is focused on or why it's there or why it can't be. So for example, no horses allowed on this trail. It's not a horseback riding trail. It's a walking trail. It's a mountain biking trail. It's what is it? Is it an ATV trail? So being clear about the use and that's been a concern of mine of also some of those uses cause erosion, for example. And so thinking about erosion, I might add. I know a couple of years ago, there was a proposal that to work on rerouting a trail that the trail in Highland Park came straight down a hill and was to put a switchback on it. And that hasn't happened, and I don't know if it's going to, but so that kind of thing, looking at just trail maintenance and keeping them really in good shape. Those are my highest priorities. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Francoise, do you wish to say anything in regard to the plan?
I'm sure. Thank you. So Marie-Françoise Hat from Washington Street. I agree with a lot of what Nancy said, by the way. My priorities personally would be open space and recreation, for what it's worth. I do have a question, and that regards open space. Say a parcel of land that's open space, say it's agricultural land, is up for sale in Greenfield, and maybe they've applied for an agricultural preservation restriction, but they need a match. Is that something we could apply to the committee for, money as a match to help buy a piece of farmland?
we're not, we're not supposed to be going back and forth, but I don't think there's any reason not to. But yes, you know, if it's being used, if it was being used for recreation, open space purposes, we couldn't have it used just for a farm. I don't believe, but we could check that out. It might be, we might be able to. Yeah, so it's worth putting in a proposal. We will check if there are any ambiguities. We have a state coalition that we go to when we are not sure that how things fit into the requirements of the law. The law sometimes makes us, there are things we'd like to do that the law doesn't allow us to do. But I think it's certainly worth a proposal.
Yeah, I mean, to me, agricultural farmland is definitely open space. So. So hopefully they wouldn't consider that not open space. All right, that's all my questions for now. Thank you.
iPhone 56, do you have any comments that you would like to make?
No. I think you said that's Peter.
Thank you. No, Peter's over there.
Other iPhone.
It's iPhone. It's iPhone. Are there, so there, seeing no one else, we will close the public hearing. Thank you all very, very much. Based on this, the next thing on our agenda is to update the community preservation plan.
That'd be a good time.
Right, we have the letter from the historic, yes, from the
She
historic.
mentioned that in the public feedback section.
Okay,
That's why
yeah.
she, wrote that.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody had a chance to read it. I can read it out loud.
Yes, it should be. Has everyone had a chance to read it?
You want to hear like an executive summary of it?
Yeah, that would be good.
Basically, it's from the chairperson's point of view that they enthusiastically support the 7 bulleted historic preservation goals in the current plan, and they're looking for, regarding the 6th proposal, update the inventory of historic properties and sites in Greenfield. We're happy to report that over the last year, the city conducted an upgrade to our historic inventory, and I'm actually working to conduct an inventory myself and give it to the planning department for things like this. So we've actually consulted Brian Knight, who did work for us with that in mind. The 7th goal was to develop a historic preservation plan for the city. We would certainly commend this purpose and hope that such an effort can be conducted in the future. Basically, they are looking for clarity on the plan as well, because they're noting that the function of the scoring sheets doesn't quite mention directly the CPC's plan. And a lot of it's mostly just Margot citing her concerns about things that, we may or may not have mentioned. Could it be more detailed in these certain aspects? And history is not the most popular category to fund projects, and how, we're looking to garner community support. Like things like the Wilson's project in particular are considered historic development, and they're very exciting. And she's looking for more things like that, and how those categories fit into like the scoring sheet, whether or not they apply in the plan under category A, B, C, and D. And she's concerned that the language isn't specific enough for a lot of grants to qualify for historic versus preservation versus open space, because a lot of it is like a mixed bag, was her thought.
Okay. Any comments or questions about that from the committee?
I will say the comment about the scoring system not mentioning the CPC plan, we just fixed that.
We did it.
The version that will go up on the city website for August is, the first question is about CPC plan and the CPC plan only now, so.
Okay. Good enough. Anything else around this?
I'll say, we did go over the sheet, Margaret and I yesterday, and she says it was very well laid out. It's fantastic. So largely, she's looking to function within the system and not really do too many changes, but naturally, the historical commission wants to push for more history projects, is what's so.
Okay. And we welcome more history projects coming to us.
We're thinking about actually putting in for partially funding the preservation of the stagecoach, but it's going to cost in the hundreds of thousands of dollars was the last quote that we got, so. See what happens with that.
Any further discussion around the CPC plan that we would like to put forward right now?
I think next month will be like we're making the edits and finalizing it.
That's correct.
Meeting.
That's correct. So think about what you've heard tonight, and when we come back next month, we will decide if there are any edits that we want to make in the plan, any changes that we want to make.
Can we get hard copies of the plan once it's finalized?
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be pretty,
They
that'd be great,
can get printed up for you.
because I'd love to be able to just like write everything in it. but-
Sounds like a plan to me. Okay, and with that, we will move on. Matt, we have brought you here to our meeting, even though you're leaving tomorrow. To assist us, we have tried a number of different methods to get word out to the community around what we're doing and welcoming proposals from the community at large. And we've been successful sometimes and other times not so much. And so we're looking to see if we can put together a plan that would help us be more successful than we've been. One of the things we noted in this last round is that we had a lot of people who engaged with our process, with our review process, did so online and did so through through both Facebook and other things. So that's one of the things that we wanted to beef up. But we're actually here looking for suggestions from you.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
If you a post.
Let me get this working. I thought a good place to start would just be kind of showing some of the stuff I had done today and teaming up with Christian. So obviously we kind of this is Facebook, but our Facebook posts also go on Instagram. Obviously there's things straightforward like, posting the flyers, things like that. The route that I found to gain the most attention with people is kind of referring to projects that have already been completed. So this is the barn restoration on the fairgrounds property. So pointing to examples of things. So this was around February. Did a little pickleball thing since that was one of the posts. So I try to make it so it appeals to those senses of recreation, open space, housing, historic preservation. This is the Shattuck Park Fitness Cluster, looking nice. So yeah, that's obviously a part of the process. And then usually we accompany with a press release that they're always found on our website. And usually we get some coverage from local outlets about that. But that's kind of just an overview of what we've kind of executed. I know Christian informed me back in February that the survey results were quite good. I don't remember what the number was, but
100.
100, okay, not bad. So I think a lot of it is just finding ways to, people see the Community Preservation Act and they see all of the details and things like that, but just appealing to people's senses and just the really leaning into the personable facets of recreation, of historic preservation, things like that. So I think really providing kind of tangible ways of showing people how these funds are really making a difference in their community and how they can see these funds, in their community. I think that's really the kind of secret sauce to getting people to engage with what's going on.
Would there be something like, I was just thinking of, did you know that the facade that the CPA funds your CPA funds were used to fix up the facade of the Greenfield, the garden movie theater?
Yeah,
Those kinds of things that engage people that way, if that would be helpful.
Of course, and I think the thing that's gonna be easier is the more years that pass and the more completed projects that are under, your belt, the more things you're gonna have to point to as kind of tangible marketing points. So, like when I came in 2023, it was probably like the first or second, projects being completed. Like, it's now you're at 6. So each time, the year passes, you're getting more kind of tools in the toolbox as far as ways to engage with people.
Other folks have questions about ways that we might, things that you've thought about that, wondering if they would work or not, or if they're useful. That includes folks online.
Well, I know we've, in the past, we had some people go to like the swimming area and like talk to people there. And we've talked about going to the farmer's market or going to the library and, like tabling and having people like be able to ask questions. And so I don't know. I just thought I would bring that up, that's like another avenue we've tried. And I think we've gotten some success from that, but a little bit.
A little bit. We did pretty well, I think, at the farmer's market that first year that we did it. The year that when we were at the swimming pool, unfortunately, it was a year when there wasn't a whole lot going on there because of the drought, I think. So we did contact some people, but it wasn't a huge thing. So go ahead.
Well, I'm thinking, numerous weeks ago, I was walking down Main Street with several friends, and what was happening outside the garden and the construction that was going on there on either side, and then the signs, boy, did that attract people's attention. And then once it attracted people's attention, they had all kinds of questions about the CPC. And so one of the things that makes me think about is, for instance, if we did something at the swimming pool, if we had a project that was related to the swimming pool, it would almost attract more questions then, because there are people in the area who are interested. So there have been some things about Highland Park. If we put something specifically at Highland, particularly, I don't know if we still have the trail mapping, if that's one of the things that that we considered way back. If there are places where people have recommended projects or been curious, I wonder if putting things up there at those specific spots would attract some particular attention.
I have one kind of idea, suggestion, just kind of thinking aloud a bit. I do think it could be a good idea maybe in the future to kind of have a more of a ceremonial approach to like debuting projects that are completed. Like, you don't need to have some big thing about it, but like a little, just like grant, like cutting the ribbon or something like that. I think things like that are good, especially if you kind of follow through with it and, you have the media there to report on it. It kind of will develop this rhythm of people seeing community preservation projects being completed and that work getting accomplished. So that's kind of I don't think that would be a major heavy lifting thing, but just something maybe small, a habit you could, gradually build through the years.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea. Especially since the spring we'll be doing, the housing will be completed over on Wells Street, and that certainly would be a time when we should definitely do something. Jack, I noticed you came on. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just was wondering if there's a way that we can add to the page on the city's website those photos of like the outdoor equipment, like completed projects, because there is like what was funded and what wasn't, and sort of numbers, but I think some visuals to, as Matt was saying about connecting to folks' senses. I think if we had visuals on the website of like your dollars in work or in action, it might be more effective. And then the Facebook post can point to that. We can, put that on certain flyers that go out. Because I don't know if people really truly understand what the money has done so far. And
Mhm.
there's already 780,000, I think that slide
Mhm.
said. That's a significant amount of money that I don't think we're broadcasting enough of the success of the actual money.
Can we do something like that on the city website,
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Yep.
Okay.
I would tell you, I would just go do it, but I don't have no time to do it.
We know that, you know, we know.
I'm leaving, as is Matt, but I'm sure,
I'll have to tell you that I will do that.
and Anna.
And Anna, yes.
That kind of leads me to another question.
Okay.
which is, can we get these pictures and information on that electronic sign on the common? As like, you know, a rotating ad that pops up and says, this is a CPA project that was done.
Oh, that's very cool.
It is.
That's a very cool
I
idea.
don't know if that's possible.
Several people told me, oh, hey, the CPC, I saw that at the fire station. They posted it on the fire station's broadcast screen as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the deal with the various kiosks, there's the one at the fire station, the one right in front of City Hall, and the one on the common. The one at the fire station and the one in front of City Hall are like municipally oriented. The one on the common is really supposed to be focused on like tourists and I mean also residents of Greenfield and like leading them to businesses and events. So like municipal stuff doesn't get posted on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm leaving, so if you wanted to try and push the next person that's in charge of the kiosk,
All right.
you could go for it, but that's traditionally been
Well,
the division between them.
advertised if we were gonna have our ribbon cutting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if it's an
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
you could get it on that.
But we can put it on the other two. So. Okay, that's a great idea. That's an excellent idea. Other ideas? Anyone else? Including the community folks
There
who
was-
are
There was a
here.
comment, Francois had a comment.
Francois?
Chat.
I can read the comment if you can't see it. It says, could you have a Facebook page dedicated to the CPC? I don't think there is one, is there? So that would obviously be something that would require, you know, legwork on your committee's behalf. But we're always happy to feature the CPC content on the city pages too as well.
That might be something for us to pursue with we won't lay that on Amy, but we may pursue that once we have a new staff person come on. We could have our own Facebook page, which would be available. Nancy?
Yeah, I think the celebrating completed projects
Mhm.
doesn't, it's not visible to me.
Mhm.
Maybe it is, but, and I do read the newspaper, I know a lot of people don't, but but using the newspaper, you know,
Mhm.
to celebrate projects. Well, you know, I'm a big fan, as you know, about my tours. Now, my tours don't have photographs, so that's a downside on that. But certainly expressing excitement, but in the news release about it, that will have a photograph. And they like photographs. The newspaper likes, yeah.
Okay.
So I wonder too about projects in process, like when we funded things about Hillside, you know, like about the path going around the park. And even showing that and showing that it's happening and letting people maybe have a reason to go over to Hillside and go over and look. And even that Shattuck, it would be so neat seeing that equipment, if there were that equipment with people on it. To be able to show the community interacting with the projects that
Mhm.
we've done. But I'd be really curious to see some being done. Asphalt put down, equipment brought in.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know it's my first meeting, but is the goal of this increased attention just to get more people talking about CPC and knowing about the projects, or to get more applications? Because I think those are slightly different potential channels.
It's kind of both. One of the things that, because the applications come from outside, they come from the community. To get the community to understand that they can actually have that impact, in some ways, knowing that the projects have happened and that other folks have asked for them, it's kind of both things.
Yeah, it's like, I'm disappointed that there aren't more people here talking about what their vision of how to use these. I mean, I'm shocked, to be perfectly honest, that there aren't more people. And just disappointed. Yeah, it's such a fabulous program, such a great opportunity.
So, one of the places that I hear people comment a lot about, is Highland. And like for one of the places that there seem to be a lot of comments made is the pond at Highland, or the space that holds water, whatever you want to call it. So one of the things that it makes me think is that a lot of people in town kind of don't have that much of a feel for what might be done. You know, like when Nancy said hiking trails and putting up signs. I know that somebody has made a recommendation about that before, but you know, partly, particularly with our focus on housing, which I think is good, those projects are so huge that if there are other things that people are interested in and would be curious about asking for money to help them get going, you know, it's almost like, is there room for this? I don't know if people realize that there really is room. Are those bike racks still going in?
Yes.
I know Donna was invited to give a speech at like a neighborhood association for precinct 7. Not that the other precincts have neighborhood associations like that, but we could go to organizations in the area or groups that are organized in the area and like say, hey, this is who we are. If you want to reach out to us, here's our information. This is what we do. We could plan presentations and bring it to people.
Other thoughts, questions, comments?
But just like going on like Greenfield Community Television.
Yeah, we good if we had pictures. We need pictures.
True.
Yes. But yeah.
That's the thing, if we talk about it like real people instead of just, you know, words on a page, that's a personable, marketable, you know, tactic.
I'll just add,
That's like, you know, down for the kids.
Okay.
I'll just add really briefly that like judging based on going through all the posts of this year, probably the posts on Facebook that get the most retention and do the best are like kind of the grand opening type things. Aldi's opening today, Jadook in March, you know, Starbucks, things like that, they always capture attention. So I think that's a very easy way to get a lot of eyeballs on the CPC work.
Is the garden done with their project?
Almost.
When they're done, maybe we should have like a proper, like, you know.
I'll tell you what, I will email Isaac. I'll put that on my to-do list.
So, can we talk about having like a commercial run before the movies as well?
I looked at that a little bit and there's like, you have to go through this third party company to like buy an ad to get it on their screen. I didn't contact the garden specifically, but on their website, it says, this is how you get an ad on the screen. And there's like a third party company that you have to.
I may be able to talk to him.
We might be.
Yeah, okay.
I was wondering if, you know, if we want to have these like grand opening sort of things, should we include this in the what's it called? The grant agreements to say like you can, it is a requirement that when you finish this project, we will hold a grand opening and show the images on the city's social media, you know?
Yeah, because like you definitely use the grant agreements as a tool going forward if you want to change things. Like if you want more photos, you want videos, you want photos specifically of people utilizing the new resource. You can write that so explicitly into the grant agreement, project by project. The grant agreements right now are kind of like a boilerplate template that accomplish a lot and get a lot of benefit out of the giving them the money, but you can go even further for sure.
Okay.
I mean, something like affordable housing or something, we might not want people necessarily like pictures of people using, you know, you don't want a picture of someone in their house.
Right.
yeah, that's where it could be modified based on the project specifically.
No, we can talk about whatever, but we can talk about having things like tiling on the sidewalks or like a plaque, things like that, and we can post pictures of those, or like. If it was a house, you know, oh, a new mailbox is going in and there's a bunch of new flowers around the mailbox, like. Have it be private but public,
Mhm.
something that draws attention on the street.
Okay. Jack?
I would just say that, you know, the Habitat project, as that progresses,
Mhm.
potentially getting videos while that's happening and strategically placing like a CPC banner or some sort of something in the yard to be in the videos is probably you know, a lot of, Megan does very good getting volunteers out there. So
Mhm.
there will be a lot of eyes during the project. And so I would say, you know, having a conversation with Habitat and seeing how, you know, if the committee sponsors coffee or, you know, donuts for one of the mornings, and, you know, that is both spreading the word about the CPC, but also documenting a project so that we can use it to advertise in the future, I think could be a home run.
Definitely get in touch with Megan about that. That's a great idea.
For that end, the CRC, there's room for the nonprofits. You can have a grand opening in there and with other nonprofits in the area who might want to apply for grants.
You know, it might be really interesting to have, some kind of a movie around the historic, what we have done even for facades. You know, thinking about making Main Street look better or the downtown, you know, but just to even have, you know, this facade was painted and this was this and this was this to show the improvement in the appearance, in the use. Yeah. And is it ever possible, like, and I don't know if there's like violation of privacy in this, but say like with the Winslow building, you know, and the improvements that are going into that. I don't remember exactly the part that we had. I remember Jack coming and requesting things, you know, but, one of the things like people like me, and in fact, when the Winslow, you know, years ago, I did get to go in. I did get to go into one of the living units and stuff, which was so interesting because then that place becomes real to me. Otherwise, so often the housing is really separate and it's almost like, well, what's in that housing? What does it look like? What's it about? What's the size? So I feel really connected to the Winslow building from that visit way back. And I don't know if we could ever do things like that even to.
Yeah, so the CPC is funding some exterior water tightness. And so, you know, that certainly everyone can see and we can figure out, you know, I think, having like a brick personalized or something like that, as part of it to say the CPC, I think is definitely possible. Depending on the timing of everything, we're happy to host a tour, and I'm sure CSO for the Wells Street will happily do that as well when things. I think it's just a matter of us as a committee reaching out and saying we're interested in doing it. Because the more press and attention that these projects get, it's a win for everyone. So I think it's just a matter of making sure we put this on our to-do list every time a project is getting close or we see work happening as a committee to let the applicants, the awardees know, grantees know that, you know, this is something we're interested in doing.
Thanks, Jack. I think those are good ideas. Other comments? We're on a roll. Peter, do you have anything that you've been thinking of? Guess not. Okay. Anything more on this discussion before we close it down?
I'm just curious how, because I don't use Facebook. So is it used quite a bit daily? Like, How much is it used? I just don't know.
Like how much traffic does it get?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to go through that with you. So our Facebook has really been growing over the last couple of years. We were at about close to 8,000 followers now, 7,750. So I think about 40% of that is just Greenfield. So that's, I mean, what, 3,000 people you're instantly reaching with every post. But this year, just from January to June, we already surpassed our social reach from 2024. So things have been really taking off. Let me look at the numbers. Like just this past month, our posts had a total of reach of 300,000 and reviewed 840,000 times. So it is very good for getting things out in a way that is cost effective and quick.
Well, so do we have just even a special thing on the Facebook that, because a lot of people don't have a clue of what this committee possibly does, like, so a lot of people from out of town are going on that Facebook, or are they all local people? Do you have a sense of that or not really?
No, yeah, I'd say most posts are directed towards followers, but posts can kind of grow to having an audience outside of the region. Um, Usually my post concentration has been at times when like the survey is going on and you're trying to solicit like input specifically and things like that. So I would say the CPC is featured in kind of a seasonal fashion where it's relying upon those kind of marquee events in your season for the promotion. Which is why I recommended if you do more kind of ceremonial things, then that would kind of weave within that framework that's already there.
Matthew, and Greenfield was nominated for whatever it was a month or so ago.
Yeah, strongest towns.
Yeah, did that increase traffic? Because I know that was pretty heavily advertised.
Yeah, it didn't hurt. But I think we were successful in strongest towns because of what we already had with our socials and the engagement we were able to have with people. Because I mean, we beat some communities that had 100,000 more people than us. So I think a lot of the success we had was because of the engagement we got.
So what was our final success?
We were in the Final Four,
Yeah.
so pretty good.
It's too bad that we didn't have some kind of announcement about the end of that. I mean, because it was pretty exciting to watch. And then all of a sudden this was gone. Disappeared.
So you don't want to announce that you lost.
Well,
we did a few small things
Yeah.
about it, and then the GBA did some kind of wrap up things about it too.
Yeah.
What about like a targeted Facebook ad, or are the posts themselves more effective?
I mean, if you have the funding to do advertise, I've never boosted or advertised any social posts I've made. I don't have like the budget for that, but I do know that if you put some money into social marketing, you can have some good success. I know Christian probably is better to speak on that because I know he had some success. Was it with the Crossroads District or?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, it's, so the boosted posts, they show up as an ad for people that scroll by them really fast. But there's others that do look at them, and if you put a few $100s into something, because Greenfield is such a small area, all these dollars, they're based on like Boston, and so like your cost per dollar to get a view is based on Boston. For here, you just want 17,000 people to see it. You put a few $100 in, and you can make everyone in Greenfield that's on Facebook and Instagram see something for the most part, which is fascinating and a tool that I think is underutilized in general. But yeah, we ran a bunch of ads for the events that were sponsored by the Crossroads Cultural District, and the boosted posts that I made had thousands of views for like tens of dollars each. So
And something to think about.
so like, what would we put ads in for? Even for,
it'd be like you can now vote on which projects you want to receive CPA funding. There's 14 up for contention. Click here to vote on them and then bring them directly to the survey. That's just like an example.
Cool.
We could even advertise the pre-application season.
Well, so in that 5%, how much of that do we spend actually?
Not much.
5%, no,
Not much.
5%, but not really. More like 1,000 or something per year, 2,000.
So we have a couple thousand really just sitting there that we could.
Yeah, we could use it. We could use it for that. Okay. Anything more?
I just want to say thank you for having me, and I think this was a fun brainstorm session.
Thank you, Matt. Matt, could you, when you get this thing ready for your successor, could you also send me a copy of it?
Yep, you'll get the email tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your help. We appreciate it.
Sorry,
Thank you.
we're leaving.
Yes. Okay, onward. Review of project updates.
All right, project updates. First one is a question for all of you on how to approach something. The Franklin County Agricultural Society's barn rehab, the original 2023 one. We had the preservation restriction for that, that was required, and that's got signed by all parties now, including the state people. Only thing that has to happen now needs to get recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and obviously there's a $105 fee to do that. So I just wanted to ask all of you to consider if you want me to try to ask Michael at the fairgrounds to pay that, or for the CPC admin fund just to pay for it. The grant agreement is silent on this. It can go either way. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to push for them to do it, or there's nothing wrong to just use the CPA money, so.
We should use the CPA money on the caveat that we reach out to the fairgrounds and be like, ribbon cutting?
I don't know if I do it like that. I guess I would just say that whichever way we go with it should be what we do probably going forward.
Forward, yeah, so it
So if
would be
we
a policy
always-
decision.
Yeah, if we always want to be paying for that, which it's not a lot of money, so.
You could do it as like a one-off, like we'll pay for it this time, but future grant agreements, let's make sure to have that in there.
Mhm.
Something like that, which there shouldn't be any preservation restrictions involved with the ones going forward, but
Like, this is the only project we've done so far that.
Mhm.
yeah, for the
So what do folks think?
Christian, does it not require an attorney to do that?
to see what,
To record the restriction? That's something you can just pay and it occurs?
yeah, I mean, you just bring it over there and they scan it into the system. That's really all it is. We did that for the city's mortgages for the housing rehab program all the time and stuff
Okay.
like that. I think I've probably recorded a preservation restriction before, so.
I guess I would say we should pay it this time, I think, just because we never specified that they would be paying it. And now it would be sort of like, oh, surprise, now you have to pay for this fee too. I don't know. That's just my gut.
So-
That's my gut reaction.
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion, sir?
I would like to make a motion to pay, what was it, $105? $105 to record the preservation restriction for the barn rehabilitation at Franklin County Fairgrounds.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second? Okay, discussion. Hearing none, we'll do a vote. Okay, here we go. I just have to go through my list again. Okay, Sarah,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Wisty,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and me, and I'm a yes. Okay, so we will, but I think that we should make it so that we're doing, it's a one-off, and that probably should be part of our process in the future in terms of preservation, those things that require preservation.
Other updates, here's a very fun update. The photos and videos from the Museum of Our Industrial Heritage. They finished up their project just recently and they're getting it prepped to be able to be viewed by the general public, but it was ready for me to go over there. These are the original photos. This is what the state of it was before the grant funding or right when they got the grant funding. It was various parts and pieces that couldn't make a full machine just randomly about and not ready to go and really be displayed at all. And now it is a fully functioning machine shop. I don't know if this is the one that's actually. Yeah, it's just but there's one where it's running. There's all the kind of different bits and tools that someone that would be using this in their home shop to fabricate things. Here you go. Fortunately, it looks like it's very low quality. So it's fully functional now. Fully functional now, and so he can put a bit on it and actually cut metal with it and do demonstrations. So for $1,000 from CPA money, you got a pretty cool thing for kids to go do field trips and for people interested in industrial history to go see something that works. Be awesome.
Can we do a
Other-
little sticker there, like that says
Yeah.
stored with dollars from your CPC? Will they let us put like some sort of sticker or something?
Yeah, I'm sure they would totally be amenable to that. It wasn't in the video, but they have the big banner still that was like on the table. He just took it off so I could take a nice video. But that's still there too. Yeah.
Wondering if we could do something permanent, even if it's like a little tile. I know we've been talking about tiles, but something cheap that's nice, that kind of fits the theme of that room would be great.
Yeah.
We have all this work for you to do, Christian.
Otherwise,
Writing this.
I don't have any updates from Christy. I did send her an email. So the big update for the project you just voted on funding and city council approved, they've received all their grant agreements today. So they are in the process of getting signed and the projects, just so everyone's aware now that I'm leaving, the nuances. After city council votes on something, they can start working on the project even if the grant agreement isn't signed yet. But pretty readily after city council votes on it, the grant agreement should get signed. But for example, the Habitat project, city council approved it, and now Megan knows she can get started on it, even though she hasn't got a fully signed grant agreement, just so everyone knows going forward. But for Christie's recreation projects, obviously the agreements have either been extended or had original due dates of June 30th, 2025, so just a few days from now. And some of those might be getting finished up, but others might need to be extended again. So just for your July meeting, know that you might be doing some extensions. Let's see, Garden Block, the Garden Cinema is almost finished up. It's looking great over there. I think it's been really good. Speaking of CPC visibility, having that sign hanging above the door for every single person that goes to see the movies. Me and him picked a really good spot to be visible. Other than that, I don't think I have any other major updates. Yeah, just the Museum of Our Industrial Heritage got finished up the last meeting.
So,
Yes.
like just seeing where all those that say in progress, if they are in progress, even with the Habitat for Humanity house, it's just something that could say, look, the money's gone through. And so right now, just something showing the action. Even if it's that person who's mentioning.
I'm going to contact Megan to see if she can start getting photographs and sending them to us.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. I'm sure she'll be willing to do that.
But look, trail wayfinding and if there's any activity for the bike racks, for any of that, to be able to show it and show that these people are out there working right now, like, you know, people love to see people out being involved, doing it right then and there.
Okay,
That's all I have.
all right. Anything else for the good of the committee that we haven't previously thought about at this point?
I'm not sure if this is so, but this goes way back to when you first started showing. I didn't know if Becky George's name was on the member list, was it?
It should have been.
Yeah, it is, yeah,
I updated it for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, it is, yeah, it was there, I think.
Yep. it
Yep,
was there.
Okay, great. I just missed it.
Okay. All right, in that case, I would, the next meeting will be on July 24th at 5:30 PM in this very room. And online. And, would anyone like to make a motion, to complete this meeting?
So moved.
There's a second, okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we need a vote on this? All right, quickly. Okay, Sarah,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Whiskey,
Yes?
Jack,
Yes, enjoy the cake.
thank you, Peter,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, this meeting is now adjourned at 6:46.